It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome. It's the Jill on Money Show. I hope you had a very happy Thanksgiving and are ready to celebrate by listening to some interesting stories and us, me and Mark, best producer in the world, Mark Talercio, answering your financial questions. If your family time got you thinking about something financial and you want to run it by us, just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. Write your note, and if you'd like to join us on the air, Mark does everything else. Let's start the program. We're talking to Warren, who's on the line from Nebraska. Maybe it's Warren Buffett. Let's see. Hi, Warren. Welcome to the program.
Well, good morning, Jill. Thanks for having me on. Sorry to disappoint you. This isn't quite Warren Buffett, even though I do have shares in his Berkshire Hathaway account.
All right. Fair enough. So what brings you to us today?
Got a few questions. We're trying to figure out whether or not it's worthwhile to keep our whole life policy. We've talked to our insurance agent about converting that into something to take care of long-term care, as well as we're made a few moves in our brokerage account to take advantage of some tax loss harvesting. Looking for a little confirmation that we did it right.
Okay, that sounds fair. Tell us a little bit about what's going on for you guys in terms of work life. Are you both working or just one of you working, or what's going on?
Okay, I'm 56. My wife's 54. We're full-time RVers. I took a buyout last year to retire. My wife jumped at the opportunity. We're currently outside of St. Louis, Missouri, on our way to Florida for the winter. I will work.
Can I stop you for 1 second? So we just were talking to somebody who desperately wants to spend $200,000 on an RV. You know, I don't know if that even is a nice RV. You'll let me know about that. And the question really was like, we were saying to them, like, well, why are you going to do that if you don't have the time to do it? So how did you figure out that in your mid-50s that you could do this?
We had a call with a financial analyst. As our call ended, this was in like 2017, 2018, she goes, I don't know why you guys keep talking about 64, 62, or 67, 65. You guys could retire in like 2024, 2023. And my immediate response was, you don't tell us that at the end of our call. Shouldn't you tell us that at the beginning of our call? And she goes, well, my follow-up call, or my call after you canceled earlier, so I got a half hour. So then she laid it all out for us, how we could make this happen. So it involves selling our house and using the proceeds to live on for a couple years, as well as buy what we wanted to do for a travel. We bought a fifth wheel and a 1-ton pickup.
I don't even know what those words mean, but I'm going to ask you that in a second. But just stand by. So what is the source of income right now that you guys have? Anything? Do you have rental income, or do you have pension income?
I have a small pension, which was part of the buyout offer. I get a whopping $441 a month on that. We live a little on our sale of our house proceeds, but I will start work at the RV park where we're going to stay November 1. And I make roughly $1,900 a month gross, or at least that's what I did for January through March. We'll see if that stays the same.
Okay. So what does your expense side look like? You know, with the small pension, you do a little part-time work, but what do the expenses look like for you on an annual basis?
Roughly $45,000 to $50,000.
I presume because you're flying all over the country there, or driving all over the country, do you have grown children or no children?
We do not have any children.
This is part of the whole full-time RVer thing, I think. Can you imagine if you had two little rugrats and you had to put them through college? There goes your RV money. You're done. Let's talk about the amount of money you've saved. You said you sold the house. There are proceeds. What's left of the proceeds of the home sale?
Roughly $75,000.
Okay. And is that just sitting in a cash account or invested? What is that? Where is that
sitting
now?
in a high yield savings account.
What about other savings that you've done? Tell us about what you've done so far.
We have roughly $35,000 in an emergency account. My wife has 217,000 in a traditional IRA, 250,000 in a Roth. The brokerage account that we talked about, the tax loss harvest, is a little over 21.5. She's eligible for a pension next year. She worked less than fewer years than I did, so hers is like $220 a month next year. If she waits till 65, it goes up to about $320. For me, I have $13,000 in cash in sold my sick leave and vacation. I had to leave it with the former employer for a year. Now I'm eligible to transfer it as I wish. I also have $40,000 in an old 457 account with that former employer. I have $152,000 in a Roth, $124,000 in a traditional IRA, and one move we made before I retired. I've got $204,000 in a traditional IRA with a previous employer because of the tax breaks. You can claim it after 55 with your last employer.
What about the whole life policy? Where is that? Like, do you each have one or just one policy on?
She has a term for $250,000 for the next 10 years up until we go out. She would be eligible for Medicare. I have two whole life policies. One my parents bought on me when I went to college. That's $100,000. I have a little over $205,000 in another one. That's the one that we look to roll over into the long-term care. It's got roughly about $80,000 in cash value. That one does.
The surrender period is up on obviously the one from your parents. The $205,000 is the surrender period up on that?
No, yes, it is expired. Sorry.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure. So let's talk a little bit about your brokerage account. You're managing that yourself. Are you also managing all these other accounts on your own?
We were fortunate enough to have employers that have TIAA manage their accounts. We've kept those for the traditional and Roths. They pretty much have overseen the brokerage accounts. When we met with our advisor in the spring, he was like, we talked about a few things going on, and he's like, well, you got all this tax loss harvesting you could do in your brokerage account. He goes, I can't do that for you, but I can tell you, I can encourage you to do it. So that's what we did.
Right. Great. So you sold some losers, right?
Correct.
And what was the total amount of loss that you claimed on that account for this year, for 2023?
We went a little nuts.
Okay.
So about 8,500. We know that we can carry it over a couple years.
Right, absolutely. Although you could take gains also if you want to just reposition some money. If you feel
Which
like
is
you're
what
in
our
something
advisor just gave us a little heads up. He goes, hey, you might want to take advantage of some growth in your brokerage account here and move forward. And so,
what is it that and you've been doing this for how long? The full-time RVing?
The house sale went through June 3rd or mid-July. The RV came about 2 weeks later, and we've hit the road ever since.
We'll get back to Warren in just a minute. If you would like to come on the air with us, it's so easy. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll get your note. Jill on Money will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. It's the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by bringing you on the air or reading your emails and answering those questions. Let's get back to Warren from Nebraska. If you look at like the money you're going through, you do feel comfortable that the 45 to 50 grand is pretty much all in, right? In terms of your needs.
Yeah, we've had a few unforeseen expenses, but they didn't knock us out of our budget.
What's the game plan that you keep doing this for 10 years or 12 years and then you claim your Social Security benefit and then you're kind of golden and like you'll spend some of your money down? Is that what the general game plan is?
We hope to do this till we're 70 or until the body tells us that, it's tired and it doesn't feel like fixing a tire blowout that happened last night on the road.
Oh, dear. Okay. Would you claim Social Security at your full retirement age or 70, do you think?
We're doing the great debate between full retirement and 70 right now.
Okay, couple of things. It sounds like there are two different people who are giving you advice, right? There's the woman who's like, hey, you can quit now. Is she still in your life in terms of investment advice?
She actually took her own advice and retired. And she was with a previous employer. But we took all the information that she gave us and went and met with our, turnover happened. So our former advisor with TIAA, and he goes, no, that can't happen. And I go, well, here's all the data. And so then he ran through the whole thing and he was like, yeah, you guys can really do this. All right, good luck.
What's funny about it is the reason why I say that is as you were telling me the story, I was like, no way. I literally was in the back of my head. I'm like, no way. But you're telling me the story. And now I think I understand why it can work. Also, because it sounds like you're willing to hustle a little bit, when, you can make the $1,900 a month and maybe it's not $1,900 a month every month for 12 months, but that you can bring in a few extra bucks for a while, right? What is the amount of money that you think you will bring in for a full year of part-time work? What's that amount?
Right now, we've got it kind of figured out between our pension, interest. We're trying to come up with between $19,000 and $21,000. Our insurance broker in terms of health insurance was like, he goes, here's your kind of sweet spot so you can qualify for some plans on the healthcare marketplace and yet not be completely
like cash. You can't. Then you're not like digging into the portfolio and making too much money.
Correct.
And depleting too much of the money. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the brokerage account. So everyone listening, this is a great question because we're coming into the end of the year. And I think when you look at tax loss harvesting, the goal is to identify the positions that are in your taxable brokerage accounts or taxable accounts that have losses. Now, for many people, that could be if you bought bonds in the beginning of the year. It could be that you bought a stock at the wrong time. It could just be a strange thing that's kicking around in your portfolio that's gone down. You identify the amount of the losses you have. And in your case, $8,500, right?
Correct.
Now, what you can do concurrently is you can say, let me see if there is some money that I want to take off the table in terms of gains. So maybe you can identify $2,000 or $3,000 of money that you're like, you know what? I'm going to trim this position. It's okay. I'm going to start over. But you can take up to the amount of losses in your gains and have no actual tax cost of reallocating your portfolio. So you could potentially sell up to $8,500 of gains if you wanted to. If you don't do that, then as you now know, I'm just saying this for everyone else, whatever is the unused portion of losses, you can take $3,000 against your ordinary income and claim that, and you can carry forward that loss to next year because maybe next year you won't have any other losses, but you have some gains still, and you can take the gains against the losses that you had from the previous year. It's a very good habit to have if you have a taxable account. And for those of you listening who are like, there's no way I'm going to do that, many of the automatic platforms like a Betterment and some of the service advisor at Vanguard and Schwab, many of them will do this for you for that 0.25% a year or 30 basis points a year. So this is obviously the smaller part of your total portfolio. I guess that there's a question that I have around converting the whole life policy into long-term care, because I don't know if you need it. I wonder if it might be more valuable to you to have the cash value of those two policies in your brokerage account so that you basically have the ability to have more liquidity and flexibility. So have you talked a little bit about that with the advisor about, well, why buy long-term care? Maybe is it better for us to just have the money and add that to our brokerage account? Did you guys ask that question?
Not to our TIAA representative.
I would ask that question. Look, So you're kind of young on the long-term care, number one. Number two, long-term care is expensive. I mean, yes, you are sort of a bit in the sweet spot in that you have assets that you could plow through if one of you were to get sick. That's true. On the other hand, I'm also worried about like longevity. Do you guys have longevity between the two of you and your families? Might it be worth it for you to potentially have access to your money rather than tie it up in a long-term care policy or some other permanent insurance policy that would be problematic for you guys? I don't know. Mark, do you have an opinion about that? Do you know what I'm saying? That like maybe we should actually just grab that money and add it so that they have access to the money, considering they need access to the money?
Unless he's changing a lot of tires in the middle of the night on the dark road.
Yeah, exactly right. And to be careful when you change the tires, and we're good.
Thankfully, that was on the passenger side of the RV last night, the trailer, so I didn't have to worry about diving in and out of traffic.
Warren, I want you to know that I have full anxiety about all of the details of your life right now. But so that's kind of says the nice Jewish girl from New York who's never actually been in an RV, although I've seen them. The only RV I've been in, let me be clear, I have been in an RV. A neighbor across the street where I live has an RV. It's massive. And I walked in and I could not believe how big it was and that it looked like a full apartment. Like, incredible to me. I think that you guys are in a pretty wild situation. I am inclined to really want the money out of those permanent life insurance policies, adding those to the brokerage accounts. And, again, being careful about how you spend, but you really have done a nice job of squirreling away money and making this work. So, right now, as far as I'm concerned, all you need to do is kind of grit it out and have fun and make a few bucks and pull some money out of the portfolio. You'll have Social Security, and let's see what happens over the course of time. You'll have a flexible plan.
Will there be any tax implications regarding the withdrawing the cash out of the insurance?
There could be. Yes, there could be a tax hit. I don't think you're going to have one on the $205,000. I don't know how old it is, but you should before you pull out of it, you should ask the insurance company, what will the tax liability be if I pulled the money out? That's the question you want to ask. Okay. And if you have some nasty big tax that's due, the alternative would be to borrow the money out of the policy, which is a little more complicated, but it is at least. Let's understand first, find out first, is there a tax liability? We just need to get that checked out. Do you have like a will and a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy? Thank God, because he's out driving all over the country. Do you take turns driving?
I drive from X to Y, and then I provide some instructions so my wife can back us into various locations.
You guys, I feel very comfortable that you can do this. You sound like you got good heads on your shoulders. Don't be afraid to do a little work here and there when you get it. And even if you had to pay a little bit more for health insurance, not dipping into your assets is also worth something as well. So there is a sweet spot, but if you make a little bit more and oh gosh, I didn't quite, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about that. It's the Jill on Money Show. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we are here trying to help you make better financial decisions. And one way that we do that is we answer your questions. So how do we get your questions? Well, this requires a little work on your end. Go to our website, jillonmoney.com. And there you will see there's all sorts of content. There are podcasts, there's the blog, there's videos, there's resources. There are all different forms of Jill on Money. But wherever you are on the website, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a Contact Us button. And when you click on that, a form will pop up. You complete the form. If you would like to join us on the air, all you need to do is check the box saying that's what you want to do. It's that easy. Now, while you're on the website, you will scroll down and you will see that we have got a new service called Jill on Money Live. It's a subscription webinar series. And for $35, you can join us for live webinars, 4 of them. Get it? Once a quarter. And there's also a whole bunch of video content that lives behind the paywall that you will have access to. Our next webinar is coming up fast. It's on December 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will be joined by Dan Forbes. I'd like to call him my protege, but maybe I just was his mentor or his boss. He'll tell you about that. Dan is a CFP, and he is going to join us to discuss year-end tax and financial planning. It's going to be a great event, so check it out. You can only join that and be part of that live event by joining Jill on Money Live, the subscription service. Okay, it's time to get back to you guys. This is an email from Cindy. I'll be 53 at the end of the year. My husband is 54, and I will retire at the end of 2025. Oh my gosh, at the age of 55. Of course, it's from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So who am I to say don't actually retire early? Because that sounds like a very hard job. Okay, Cindy goes on to write, because it's law enforcement, I get to retire early, and I am eager to do so. I will also get health benefits. I'm a forensic psychologist, and I plan to do some part-time work afterwards. We will soon receive a 25% bonus retention, which will bump up my salary to $177,000 for my last 2 years on the job. That's amazing. That's a lot of money. I mean, you probably can't pay people enough to take that job. It sounds like a hard job. Husband is a school bus driver, earns $30,000. No kids, house is paid off. It's worth $600,000. The car loan that exists will be paid off in 2 years. That's great. My pension will be roughly $63,000 net, and it has a survivor benefit of 50% of that for my husband. He has a small pension, which will begin at age 60, about $5,000. My thrift savings plan balance is $1.1 million. A year ago, I switched to the Roth TSP. Briefly, I switched back after reading it may not be beneficial in my specific situation. All right, so $9,000 in Roth. Outside of that, in a Fidelity account, my husband has $200,000 in a rollover IRA, $500,000 in brokerage exchange-traded funds. They've got Roths, $110,000 each. They got no debt, and she's saving $2,000 to $3,000 a month. $50,000 in a high-yield savings account, and Social Security benefits at age 67 will be $3,500. Husband's will be just under $2,000. And if she waits to age 70, her benefit through Social Security goes up to $4,400. Okay, I think this is now the end of the story is they purchased land. They will build a custom home after she retires. They owe $19,000 on the land. It will be paid off in 9 months. And the hope is that the sale of our current home will pay for that new house almost entirely. Haven't researched yet how this works with regard to loans and mortgages. Since it's on 2 acres, there are extras like well and septic to pay for. As I noted earlier, I plan to work part-time after retirement, and with my skill set and perhaps luck and fortune, I should be able to charge about $350 to $400 an hour for her services. Not guaranteed. Okay, you ready for the questions? Here we go. For my last 2 years at work and with that large retention bonus, should I switch to the Roth Thrift Savings Plan? Also, since age 50, I've been contributing the maximum with the catch-up, which you know is $30,000 this year. Should I dial that back to keep more cash on hand for the upcoming custom house construction? I've been reading it's a good time to have 20% of those construction costs available. Thank you so much. Okay. First of all, it's a great story. Yeah, I think that you really just need to kind of stop putting money in the retirement account. You do have a bunch of money, which is great. You already have, both pre-tax and post-tax, but I don't think it matters too much about the Roth. You have the money for this house. Remember, the money that you have in cash is one thing, but you have $500,000 in your brokerage exchange traded funds. So I think that the $2,500 that you have a month in excess, I really think should go into the high yield savings for now. And, maybe part of that high yield savings just to protect yourself, since you know that in 2 years you're going to start this project, I might just lock it down and put it into a CD and then keep replenishing it. You're going to need some money to actually build this house. And then you'll get a construction loan. And then you will end up paying off that construction loan with the sale of your own house. But it's going to be, you're going to have like a little bridge where you need to actually have money to pay for it. And so I think that, this 2-year time horizon is a good one. But I do think that building up cash is probably smart. Just don't rely on the high yield savings to do the heavy lifting and paying as much on those accounts, because maybe in 2 years, you're not going to be making as much interest. So maybe it's actually smarter to do this as a, like a preventative of like the interest rates changing on you. So, it's sort of like a good news, bad news. Like if interest rates went down, it'll be easier to get a construction loan. The bad news is you get paid less on your cash, but you're in great shape. It's amazing. I love the plan. Give me a holler if you have a further question that pops up for you. If you need a financial question answered or a little help along the way, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. You complete the form, and at the end of the form, it says, would you be willing to come on the air live? If you check the box, Mark will do everything else. Now, while you're on the website, there's a whole bunch of content there. There's the free weekly newsletter, comes out every Friday. It is the perfect way to get ready for this program. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we encourage you to keep listening and be voyeurs and learn something from other people's experiences. But if you have your own question, go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we hopefully can help customize our advice to you. But we can only do that if you do a little work. Right now, let's do an email. This is from Stephanie. She writes, I read your recent article in the Hartford Courant. My daughter is paying off graduate school direct federal loans through her loan administrator. Stephanie says she's inquired through the loan administrator, but she wants my input. She said she is looking to pay her loan off early, and she's paying significantly more than the required amount. She's been doing this for the past year or two and continued payments through the COVID pandemic forbearance period. She has been paying her loan for approximately 5 years and is hoping to have it paid off within the next 3. She works for a not-for-profit hospital that does qualify her for public service loan forgiveness. Aha! Given the years paid in, the fact that she is able to pay more than the monthly amount and that she will likely not have the loan for 10 years, our main question is whether she should apply for any of these iterations of income-driven repayment. You know what? I don't think she should apply for any of for income-driven repayment, because that would really be to reduce the monthly amount. The public school loan forgiveness is going to be some work, because what would mean is she would have to stop paying the higher amount and hold the loan for 10 years so that some portion of it gets forgiven. So part of this has to do with, will she still be with the nonprofit for these 10 years? That's what you really need to know. And if not, pay the loan off. That seems fine to me. I don't think she needs to change the loan, because she's killing the loan. She's making it work for her. And based on the pacing of this, maybe she should just pay it off, unless I'm missing something. Let me know. Okay. These are so funny, Mark, because now we're starting to get people who are like, can I put a pool in? Can I do an addition? This is an addition question. Hi, Jill and Mark. Thanks so much for your podcast. We enjoy hearing your thoughtful and nuanced advice. This is from Noel. We would love to get your input on our situation. We are considering an addition remodel to our house because prices in our area have skyrocketed. So it really doesn't make sense to move, but we do need more space. This is a very common refrain. We've been told that a bonus room addition, full bath and kitchen, will be about $250,000 to $300,000. That sounds about right. We're 45 and 47. Husband works full-time. I work part-time. Combined income, $340,000 with an annual $75,000 bonus, which will net us an additional $40,000 after taxes. We have $1.1 million in 401ks, $50,000 in a Roth IRA, $60,000 in the kids' college funds, $160,000 in a high-yield savings, $84,000 in a brokerage. Our current home is worth about $650,000 to $700,000. It has been paid off for years. That's interesting. I recently started working part-time. I make about $40,000 a year, so our cash flow is good. And we were comfortable before I started working. We've been saving the money from my paycheck. No debt. We anticipate needing to replace my 11-year-old car sometime in the next few years. My question, how would you fund this addition? Between our brokerage and cash, we have $244,000. It would cover a lot of it. But it's a little nerve-wracking to drain those accounts, especially since we don't have an additional emergency fund set aside. Would you take out a loan or a home equity line of credit for part of it and pay part in cash, or use all $244,000 plus the $40,000 bonus coming in early next year, or a different scenario? I mean, there's no gun to your head to do this at some period of time, and it's not. I mean, I'm thinking that you really want to use the brokerage and the cash account for most of it, right? So remember, you got the $244,000, then you're going to have the $40,000 early next year. So now that's $284,000, and you're saving money, right? So what I think maybe I would do is you can certainly take a home equity line of credit out on the house. Maybe just establish the line for $100,000, see what the pricing is of this. You're not going to spend all of the money at once. It will be dribbling out over time. And maybe you have that as a stopgap measure, but I would really try to fund it out of cash flow and your savings. And you know, look, if you leave yourself with some money at the end of the day, but I really think that for you guys, you have the money, you got to use the money. This is what it's for, because the cost of money will be steep. Do you agree with that or disagree with that, Mark?
I agree, though I'm assuming the 160 in high yield savings, some portion of that is going to represent their emergency reserve. So I would leave whatever that number is. I don't know. They know. I don't. Whatever that number is, leave that, but use the rest for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you probably leave 50, and then from there you replenish and pay out of cash flow, and I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine. If you would like to get in touch with us, it's as easy as a few clicks away. Go to JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. While you're there, you'll see all sorts of content, free, paid. You can buy my book, The Great Money Reset. It's all living on the website, JillOnMoney.com. The Jill on Money Show will be right back. You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we are here trying to help you make better financial decisions, give you some guidance, and also to remind you that we would love for you to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. That comes out every Friday. It's a perfect warm-up for this program. You can sign up for the free weekly newsletter, which comes out Fridays, by going to JillOnMoney.com. Okay, this is an email. This is from Lisa, who writes, my husband and I are 63, and our net effective tax bracket is 13%. Our 2023 income will be similar. Our retirement income will be from Social Security and retirement funds. I will start taking Social Security at age 65, as I am self-employed and only make about $10,000 per year. My husband will retire at 65, but we would like to hold off on taking Social Security until his full retirement age of 67. Please note, I am not in the best health, and I feel blessed to still be here. We anticipate living on about $80,000 a year. Currently, we have combined retirement accounts of over $1 million, 75% taxable, 25% in Roth IRA or Roth 401k. Historically, we have contributed to my husband's Roth 401k with about $22,000 per year, and then a Roth IRA of $2,500 for me. Oh, when she said taxable, I think she meant tax deferred. My question is, should I put my contribution in a traditional 401k or should I put everything in a Roth? My thought was that we could be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, so take the tax break now. I'm not exactly sure whether or not you will be in a lower tax bracket because tax brackets are where we are right this second. Tax rates can change. So I would rather pay the tax due today, know that you're in a low tax bracket, and move on from there. And considering that you say that you're not in great health, I'm wondering whether or not you even need to put money into a Roth. Maybe you should be putting the money in a taxable brokerage account so you have access to it and there's plenty of liquidity. But again, I would need to know a little bit more about your situation to be firm in that recommendation. I hope that helps. If you have a financial question, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. The way we do that is we ask you to do a little bit of work. I'm sorry, it requires just a little bit of work, not a lot of bit of work. Go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. You complete the form, and at the end of the form it says, would you be willing to come on the air live? If you check the box, Mark will do everything else. Now, while you're on the website, there's a whole bunch of content there. There's the free weekly newsletter, comes out every Friday. It is the perfect way to get ready for this program. You can also check out my blog. There are videos, there are resources, and of course you can buy my book, The Great Money Reset, based on all of my conversations with you guys. In the book, I outline very concrete ways that you can change your life without blowing up your finances. That's The Great Money Reset. You can buy it wherever you buy books or on our website. Okay, but the focus of this program is you, and let's get to our next listener. Here we go with Steve, who's on the line from Connecticut. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, Jill. Great. How are you and Mark?
Doing well. What can we do for you, man?
Well, actually, I am approaching, hopefully, retirement. I will be 60 soon, and we're trying to determine whether we have enough assets to continue to live the way we have been without running out of money.
I hate running out of money. It's one of my least favorite things that can happen in life. Steve, you said you are turning 60 soon, and you said a we. So is there a partner out there?
Yes, my wife.
And how old?
She is 7 years younger, so she's currently 52.
Okay.
And then also, I'm supposed to, she is the one who is an avid listener to your program.
I love her for that, and I wish we were talking to her. So thank you, wife of Steve. Of Steve, like Handmaid's Tale. No, you're not like that, right? You don't make her wear that weird costume anyway. So, Steve, are you guys both working?
Yes.
Tell me about the income.
My income currently is about 185. Hers is about 55. So pull in the largest chunk, which is why we're kind of trying to decide whether it's something we could give up.
Right. And when you are putting that money, to work for you, are you using a retirement plan, a brokerage account? Tell us a little bit about your savings habits.
Yeah, so we do definitely try to save as much as we can, live within our means. So we've never had an issue about running out of money before, which is positive, but also on the downside is we probably haven't managed the assets as well as we should have. So I would say we definitely have 401k. I would say the total between all of our 401ks is about 1.3 million.
Okay.
We have small Roths. It's about 175,000, and those were taken out like 20 years ago when we had the ability to, our incomes were lower, so we had the ability to kind of put a little extra in besides just like the 401ks. Then our kind of cash position, so we have another about 500,000 in stocks.
Straight up stocks, or like, are we talking mutual
ETFs.
funds?
Yeah,
ETFs?
no, it's almost, well, I would say it's probably 60% ETFs, and then we have like maybe 10 different names in some stocks.
Like, is this a little bit of like the fun money account? A little bit, not totally.
Yeah, it goes, I mean, most of the names go back like over 30 years ago when I first started working, and then I thought it'd be fun. So I went out and bought, like Disney because I like Disney, and, bought
That seemed like a very good idea until this year. So 500,000 in a brokerage account. And what about just plain old cash in the bank?
We have another 1 million in cash.
Cash?
Well, it's in like CDs and high yield money markets, but that's always been sort of, my wife's always been sort of unhappy about like, oh, we should put more in the market. And let's just say we haven't had the best timing of when we buy things in the market, nor
FYI, who does?
Yeah.
It's like always by accident. I love your wife. I love she's like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, for every Starbucks, I also bought a Lucent back in before.
Oh God, remember Lucent?
Remember
cute.
Lucent.
Remember
Exactly.
Lucent?
No one knows them today because they're not around. But,
all right.
So therefore, that put fear in us 20 years ago, right? About so. As a result, we've kind of shied away from more into the market.
Well, when you say we, I think you mean you, because she is not so shy.
Well, she once again, she listens to your web podcast. She also, I would say 20 years ago was looking at, once again, the television shows, right, that are on like CNBC and different kind of publications out there, Motley Fool and so on.
Yeah.
And, she had kind of followed some advice into one or two names, which didn't work out either. So that really made us say, we are just not stock pickers, right? The whole.
And by the way, nobody is a stock picker. Just let's be clear. All right. Warren Buffett, but he has obviously an infinite time horizon, which makes picking stocks a lot easier. So, all right, Steve, kids or no kids?
2 kids. Yep.
How old?
19 and 16.
Ooh, okay. So what do we do in college-wise? What's happening?
The college won't be an issue due to dual citizenship. So they have access into European colleges that won't. Oh my
God! Now it's like Mark's ears have just perked up. I cannot see him, but I know that that's the case. So college, they will be going abroad and getting their free education.
Yeah.
What about your home? Do you own it?
We have one home, which is a rental property. And we have another home that
your primary. What's the primary residence worth?
It's about 600,000.
Is there a mortgage on it?
Yes, it's about 200.
What's the interest rate?
It's about 4.7, 4.8.
Did you buy it recently? Ish?
No, it was bought, 2006, I think, end of 2006.
What about, we never refied?
It is, my wife handles that. So there's, once again, there's part of it that's under a fixed, and then there's another part that's under a variable. It's a little complicated.
Is there a balloon or anything I need to worry about in the future? No.
No.
Okay, great. Okay, next, rental property. What's the rental property worth?
Rental property is worth about the same.
600. Is there a mortgage on that?
Almost nothing left. So there's 15 months left. It's 17,000.
Tell us a little bit about the property. Let's pretend that the mortgage is gone. What will the cash flow on the rental property look like?
It's 30,000 a year, so 2,500 a month.
Okay. And you intend to keep this, right?
Yeah, I think it's good to have sort of, once again, right, if I've got stocks, I've got bonds, I've got cash, I've got real estate is nice. She looks at it and, she's there with the calculator saying, oh, if I look at the value and I look at what we're getting, and then that's only a, 4% return, and we could sell it and put it into the market. And so, but to me, I want to keep it.
All right. Is that a non-negotiable? So should I just, in other words, I don't need to necessarily convince you one way or the other if you're already made your decision.
Once again, everything's always up. I think her and I both take everything into consideration, based on situations and what changes in the world.
Okay. We'll get back to Steve in just a minute. If you would like to join us on the program, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and we'll do the rest. The Jill on Money Show will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that tries to take the mystery out of your financial life. And we do that by talking to you directly. And remember, Mark and I are both certified financial planners. And that means that not only are we really interested in your stories and who you are, but we take a big picture approach. So even if you contact us with what seems to be a very small question, a question of one versus the other, we're likely to ask you a lot of nosy things about you and your family to help make sure that you're making the best decisions for you. So if you do have something going on, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, complete the form, let us know if you'd like to join us live, and Mark will do everything else. Hey, while you're on the website, there's a whole bunch of free stuff there, our free weekly newsletter, there's a blog. You can also subscribe to our podcast, Jill on Money, and you can get that wherever you get your podcasts or on the Odyssey app. Right now, let's get back to Steve, who's on the line from Connecticut. How much longer will your wife work? Considering that she's younger, what's the game plan? Like, when do you want to be able to, you call it quits and she call it quits?
Once again, for me, I look and say, hey, purpose of work was to earn income to provide a living and do it as short as period of time as I need to. For her, I think she says, hey, once you stop working, neither one of us really want her working for the next, 10, 15 years. So she's looking at about 3 years down the road, about 55.
And you want to be done now, or what do you really like ideally?
I can. So once again, I worked for a firm for about 30 years and I have a pension that will start when I'm 60. So,
okay. So the pension amount will be how much?
Well, okay. That has some variable numbers too. So I have the main pension itself will be $42,000 a year. And when I say there's variability in that, so because it is an early retirement, but I no longer work at the firm, having been at the firm for 25 plus years, they get this little kicker, which is about another, say, $8,000 a year up until you're about Medicare eligible. So I really look at that and say that's money that they're paying you to buy,
health insurance. Yep.
So once again, I have that. I also have a smaller pension, which you can either take as a lump sum or you can take, the monthly stream. So the lump sum is $95,000. The monthly stream would be $565 a month. So that would push the 41 up to 48.
The pensions that you are defining, are they based on your life or a joint and survivor benefit? In other words, if you were to pass away the day after you pulled the trigger, would your wife get that money?
So the larger one, it's 100% survivor. So we had to go through that. We had to go through that selection process earlier in the summer. And because of the fact that she's several years younger, because of the fact
that's a smart decision. Absolutely smart.
And the incomes based on what she's been earning, what I've been earning, we said, hey, look, it comes to about $8,000 a year, but to continue to get the full amount, versus, which is what I gave you, right? That's not not the full, it's the reduced amount. And for her to get that for what we expect to be many years after I'm gone, one, her being female, and two, being several years younger, that it was the wise choice.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So we've now talked about your pension, your two pensions, the cash flow from the rental property. All of this is great news. How about the key question in all of this? How much do you need to live on?
Okay, so that's the other one. So looking at sort of the last few years of what we've been spending, if I look at the overall expenses come out probably around $90,000 a year.
And you feel comfortable with that number in terms of, does that include, is that like the bare minimum, or is that kind of like the real number?
Well, that's the real number. I mean, that is literally looking at like credit card bills, what's coming out of the bank account, looking at mortgage payment, looking at everything.
That's awesome. When you look ahead at your Social Security, your full retirement age, let's call it 67. What does that Social Security benefit look like at 67 for you?
67, it would be $41,000 a year.
Okay. And then the 70?
It would be $51,000.
Are you in a situation, just because there's a disparity in the amount of money you earn, whereby your Social Security benefit, half of your Social Security benefit would be more than your wife's?
Correct. She will take the 50% of mine.
Good. Okay. Now, let's keep going. So the game plan is you're done right this second, if you can be, right?
Well,
if you could be,
if you could. Several months. Yes. If I could. Yes.
Okay. And your wife would keep working for 3 more years, right? And you'll get paid this extra $8,000 on your pension, which, is probably almost enough, but not quite enough for your medical insurance at 65. But remember, you get Medicare at 65. She does not.
Correct. Oh, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, we still have to have like enough money to pay for it. So let me just be clear. Your $90,000 a year of expenses, which I totally get that. I think we should call it 100 just to be safe. And, of that, what's nice is that you've got a chunk of money that you can use, the pension income, the 2 pensions rather, and the cash flow from the rental property. This all makes a ton of sense to me. So what do you think is the core question that we need to help you answer? Because I think you get the sense that you're in pretty good shape, but I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything that's like worrying you.
No, well, I think the thing that worries me is, once again, it's really asset allocation for the plan. So as you age, they keep saying, right, if you look at, say, a balanced fund, you should move more into fixed income. If you notice, other than the third of the assets in cash, there's no fixed income. And with treasuries and stuff, that the market up with the yields as high as they are, the question I had was, should I take either some of that 401k or some of that cash, or maybe a mix, move it into Treasury bonds, 20, 30-year bonds that are yielding close to 5%, and take that income. Once again, it's just another income stream. Yeah. Would supplement a lot of those concerns of what we need.
Yeah. I mean, just to be clear, you don't need that much money to float you, because, again, if I just look at the next 10 years, okay, let's say you're done now. And now your income is $55,000 from your wife for 3 years. But let's just pretend she retires with you. She's like, I don't really want to do it. Okay. So what we know we have is the 2 pensions and the cash flow from the rental property, right? So all we need to do is, for the next 10 years, use some of your cash to pay your bills, to make up the difference. And what you don't have to go out 20, 30 years. You can build a bond ladder of 1, 3, 5, 10-year bonds. That's it. A 10 years paying almost 5% right now. And that could be the money that you're going to need in the future. I would be very comfortable with you saying to me, you know what, of the $1 million, we're going to take $250 and build a bond ladder. That's going to get us what we need, or 300, whatever it is. And that's fine. That is totally fine with me. I don't necessarily think you have to do anything different with the 401k allocation right now. I'm not even sure you're going to need your 401k. So let me be clear about that. But the question really is, so should I put some of the cash to work in a bond ladder? Yeah, why not? Here's the other question I have for you. If your wife is the sole earner of income, right? And we then add up that you're going to have this other income, right? So right now, even with all that extra income, while your wife is working, and even when she stops working, you're in the 22% tax bracket. I think there is a case to be made for pulling some of money out of that traditional 401k, the 1.3 million, and using that and paying a 22% tax. You're never going into the 12% bracket. It's impossible with you guys. You have too much income. We'll get back to Steve in just a minute. If you would like to run your plans by us, maybe it's a downsize, maybe you're trying to buy a home, maybe you're thinking about retirement or college, whatever it is, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and this is the program that tries to help you make better, not the best, but better financial decisions. How do we do that? Well, we ask you to participate with us. All you need to do is go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. When the form pops up, tell us what's going on, and if you want to join live, check that box, and Mark will do everything else. While you're on the website, I really encourage you to check out our service called Jill on Money Live. Yes, it's a subscription service. Yes, it's going to be one of many subscription services you have. But my subscription service is pretty cheap. It's $35 for the whole year. With $35, you have access to quarterly live webinars for a full year and a lot of special bonus video content that lives behind the paywall. Got great interviews with Gene Chatsky, and we've got interviews with Mike Quincy from Consumer Reports. We have a wonderful interview with Diana Henrique. She wrote the Big Madoff book, and she just wrote a new book called Taming the Street, all about the beginning stages of the Wall Street era that we now know exists today. So check out Jill on Money Live, and don't forget our next live webinar, better sign up today so you can get in on that, is December 6th. Our guest will be CFP Dan Forbes. He's a guy that I worked with a million years ago, and he's going to help us with some year-end tax and financial planning. To join Jill on Money Live, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and there's a little box. You scroll down, there's a little box that says join now. It's very easy to do, I promise. We don't do a lot of heavy lifting with you guys, and we would be delighted. You can also check out our previous webinars, like with our smash hit with Ed Slott, the king of the Roth. There's a great interview with him behind the paywall. Okay, that's enough self-promotion for one segment. Right now, we are going to talk to Steve and finish our conversation about his strategy for retirement. Steve from Connecticut. So in some respects, I'm fine with getting some of the cash, like, to work and like putting that money aside and making sure you have some cash, because who knows, kids, you might need cash. But I really think the source of your extra income should come from the 401k. And I think that you should slowly pull that money out so that you are within the 22% tax bracket, which the top of that bracket is 191 about. Okay. Again, this presumes you're not working, right? If that's the case, you could start using the 401k to fund the differential. And then as the money comes out, you can make different choices, but you're going to spend it. Really, I want you to be able to spend it. But some of that cash should be put to work in either in the form of taking like some chunk of it that would make you feel comfortable, whether it's $250, $300, and buying a bond ladder, creating a bond ladder for yourself. And some other part of it should probably go into your brokerage account, because $1 million is a lot of money to have in cash.
Yeah. And that's
right.
Oh, absolutely. I said, and that's been, we recognize it. Sometimes we get upset and other times we say, okay, but when we look at what's happened, what if it went down? We're happy we have it today for, once again, what we need. Now here's a question, because we were thinking almost exactly what you had said, which was, hey, how do we do that drawdown today before that Social Security kicks in that puts us up towards the 24% bracket. And once again, if rates even were to change in the next 10 years, what about the thought too, is we were trying to say, how can we get money out of that pre-tax 401k? Can we, how do we move stuff? And we would love to, if we can, move money out, pay tax, and then into like an after-tax IRA, and then shift it into a Roth to get future growth.
Why do you need the Roth? Who cares? Who cares? You don't have to convert it because you like your cash, right? Don't you like your cash? It's like that's your comfort. You pull the money out of the 401k because you're over 59 and a half and you can take as much money as you want. You pull the money out, you either live on it or take a little bit and add it to your brokerage account. I don't see why we would soak up the liquidity of your cash right now with a conversion. I think you can get a lot of money out of that 401k over the next 10 years. Because remember, yes, we have your wife's income, but only for so long. And then we have your sources of income, which would kind of going to let you take out 50, 60 grand a year out of that 401k and stay in the 22% tax bracket. Take the money out, pay the tax, put the money, either use it or put it in the brokerage account. That's it. Done. Are you managing all the money in that brokerage account yourselves? Like, you said, oh, we have bad market timing, but do you feel comfortable doing this yourself as long as you stop futzing around with stocks?
Yes. Today it's a traditional, they're all traditional 401ks, whereas, you have a choice of 6 or 7 different mutual funds that are offered by the firm. And I would like to, I think both of us, we would like to consolidate those into one and kind of get out of mutual funds and just put them into traditional like ETFs because the expense ratios are much lower.
Yeah, whatever. An index fund or an ETF is the same expense ratio, but don't worry about that. Don't cause a tax event for that. This is what I want you to do. We're coming into the last 2 months of the year. I want you to really look at that brokerage account, and I want you to take the losses as you think about reallocating right now. I really want you to take these losses. So take the losses, and maybe there's a gain that you want to take against the loss. Just don't let a good loss slip away from you. It's good to have it. Use it, move on. That's what smart investors who want to take advantage of the tax code are like, oh, good, there's a loss. Let me take that. Let me take a gain. And now let me see, where do I stand? That's what you should be doing coming into the end of the year. And by the way, all that cash you have is generating tax liability also. So maybe when I said, a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 10-year, you live in the state of Connecticut. It has a high tax rate. You may want to also look, just in case so you have it, a comparison of what it would look like to be in a municipal bond as well. Not that you should be, because your tax bracket's about to go down, but you should at least look at it just in case, just to have the comparison. Okay. Now, by the way, last but not least, with your 2 kids and their dual citizenship and their smart stuff and everything, if there is some sense that, we actually want oh my God, my kids are settling in Paris because that would be a good place to settle. And they love it there. And you can always sell your rental property. You can always sell, you have houses, you have assets, you've got $1 million of real estate equity right now. And you know what? You can do whatever you want with that. Don't forget that as time goes by, because it may give you some options in the future as well. If you would like to join us on the air live, all you need to do is go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, and look at the top right-hand corner, and there you will see the Contact Us button. Click it and write us your note. Jill on Money will be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's take an email from Paul. I heard you mention on a recent show that it is a bad idea for a relative to add you to the deed of their house. What can be done to correct for this after the fact? Is it too late to be taken off a deed? My dad passed away 25 years ago. And at that time, it sounds like Mom added this guy Paul and his brother to the deed of their house. Of course, her heart was in the right place, and at the time I wasn't aware of the consequences. Would like to get your feedback on if it's an easy fix while mom is still alive. Thanks, Paul. I mean, I'm sure it can be undone. It's just a question of whether or not there is some tax event in the undoing. That's the only thing I'm worried about. As everybody hears these warnings, I just want to remind you what happens here is that when Paul's father died 25 years ago, his mother owns the home outright. If she were to die now 25 years later, Paul and his brother would inherit the house. And if they wanted to then sell it, the cost basis for the sale of the home would be the date of death valuation of the house. Okay, so let's make up numbers. Mom and dad bought the house for $50,000. 25 years ago, dad passes away and the house is worth $300,000. 25 years later, even beyond, now the house is worth $700,000. If Paul and his brother inherit the house today and they go to sell it, it's as if they sell it and had purchased it at $700,000. That's their cost basis. No tax due. Now, the scenario that they've actually just created in the family, again, because the heart was in the right place, is that dad passed away 25 years ago. Mom added them to the deed. It's not like they get the cost basis at that point. It does not matter. The cost basis is the original cost basis for the home. Okay. And by the way, if mom were to sell the home at this point, because she wanted to take advantage of the fact that there was a capital gains exclusion of $250,000, she has lived there. She would get that. You guys wouldn't. So it's another reason not to do this. When you put your kids' names on a deed, you gift them the home eventually, and you gift them the cost basis that you had to pay to get into that house originally. That's a lot of money for people. I don't know, Mark, a lot of folks are doing this. So clearly we need to pound this message home. Okay. This is from Eric, who writes, I enjoy your program. Mom is 79 years old. She's in good health. Oh, gosh. She currently drives a 20-year-old car that has 200,000 miles. Her mechanic recently told her that the frame is rusted through and it's time to get rid of the car. She has $70,000 in savings. She has $1,800 a month from Social Security, and her expenses are around $2,000 a month, with additional annual expenses of around $3,000 a year. She owns her home outright. Her current market value is $400,000. What about money in the bank? She has savings. And does she have anything beyond that? Does she have investments? What's going on? Eric wants to know the best options when it comes time to buy a used car. Should she use her money? Should my brother and I buy a car for her? I would anticipate a budget of $15,000 for a decent used car. She drives about 5,000 miles a year. What? Let's just lease it. Let's just lease a car, 5,000 miles a year. You want to weigh in on this, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know if she can afford a payment. If all the money she has is what he outlined in the email, then I don't see how she can afford a new car payment.
Yeah, I think the brothers are going to have to buy it.
I mean, right now she's running at a deficit. She, her expenses are $2,000 and she's got $1,800 a month.
Yeah. So who is bridging that gap? Maybe the brothers are. I mean, the sons are. I don't know. We need, again, more info. Okay. Here's Stacy. My son is very bright. That's something that no mother has ever said, right? Okay. With school anyway, read on. Okay. Son will be graduating next spring with an excellent GPA. He is interested in the financial investment field, strongly feels going to a well-known school of business like Stern at NYU, Ross at University of Michigan, will help him land great internships, contacts, and give him an advantage towards his goals, Wall Street. We, his parents, are two full-time working parents with modest income. We've told him we can cover $25,000 a year for 4 years, not the $80,000 needed per year by these schools. He's heard us, but continues to apply and focus on these types of schools. What do we do? He'll be so loaded with debt. He insists he will make enough after college to pay it off after he takes out loans, but he has no clue how much it takes just to live, especially if living in NYC. Any advice? First of all, you don't apply to business school right out of college. That's not how these schools work. You wait. And if he has an excellent GPA, tell him to go get a job. And then if in 2 or 3 years he's still interested, or it's important, or he kills it when he takes his, what's it called? GMAT? Is that this one for business school? Then great. And yeah, maybe if you get into an elite school, you will, but they don't hire directly out of college. So I don't know what he's talking about. So he should be very careful about that. What do you think of that, Mark?
Well, I think that, they, as the parents, told him what they can do. He heard them. So if he chooses to go down that road, then it's on him. She shouldn't be stressing so much about this.
Exactly right. Exactly right. They have to divorce themselves from it in some respects. I'm not even sure. I wouldn't have even said 25 grand, but maybe he'll get a scholarship. I don't know. But if he's really smart and he goes to a decent school, their placement office should be giving him that information. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish the program, we're going to take an email question from Herb, who was writing to us in response to the post that I put up about benefit enrollment period for healthcare. Okay, here's the question from Herb. Each year, I look at the plans being offered to find the best fit. But it seems like every year I select a plan, and then about 3 months into the year, the premium changes. It usually increases. Do all plans do this? I never heard of that. I thought that once you're locked in, you're locked in. I wonder if this is a payroll issue. I don't know whether this is a Medicare plan or not. So I don't actually know the answer to that, Herb. I would love a little bit more information. Herb goes on to write, it's difficult to do research with any sense of confidence. Do you have any thoughts on this? I have a lot of thoughts on this, Herb, and everybody else. Health insurance coverage is plagued by too many choices, and it just makes it so difficult to navigate these systems on your own. Sometimes you do the best research you can and jump in, do your best. For others, if you have real serious medical issues and you're paying a lot of money, that could be an indication that maybe you want to talk to somebody about this. There are people who do this, they specialize in it. Or if you work with a financial planner, sometimes they will help you with this process and or at least point you in the direction of a person who you can pay to actually help you make these choices. In any case, I don't think that's a great answer for her, but I don't have all the answers on this one. This is a toughie. All right, that is it. That is the program. And we are so happy that you join us every single week. And of course, hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. It's a big period coming up in the family realm. You're going to have holidays, etc. Pace yourself and know that we will be here every single weekend. And that's just what we do. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer and the king of all things web. He's like Mr. JillOnMoney.com. We ask you to do something nice for someone else today. Really, it will make that person feel so much better. It will make you feel better. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.